Hi, welcome to SBR Forum Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. We are previewing Week 3 in the CFL right now, and Saskatchewan heads to Toronto on Thursday to kick off Week 3. The spread on the game is currently pick'em with the total at 53.5. And this game pits last year's Grey Cup champs, Toronto, who hosted the Grey Cup last year, against the team hosting this year's Grey Cup, Saskatchewan, and they're hoping to become this year's version of Toronto. Saskatchewan stocked up on some talent to make a Grey Cup run in the offseason, and so far they have clearly fielded a top CFL team, and they head into Week 3 as already the only undefeated team in the CFL. Saskatchewan's coming off of two very impressive wins, one at home, one on the road, and there are mostly good things to take away from their first two wins. Their offense is clicking very well, their passing game features multiple weapons, and their running game, anchored by Corey Sheets, looks very impressive. And even more, they played their Week 1 game without starting defensive lineman Tiarius George due to a suspension, and they played both their first two games without seeing any action from one of their key offseason acquisitions, CFL legend Geroy Simon, who's out with an injury. So we've yet to see the down part of the inevitable up and down year that almost all CFL teams experience, but the first 2 weeks have been undoubtedly very impressive for Saskatchewan. With Toronto, as I've mentioned in earlier previews this year, they were looking to pick up where they left off on offense at the end of last season. Their offense keyed their playoff run, and with the same parts returning and chemistry likely to continue, they were very high in the preseason about getting off to a good start offensively. On defense, though, there were going to be questions with only 4 returning starters and a lot of youth and inexperience. And that is how things basically played out the first 2 games. Toronto pulled out a win in a shootout over Hamilton in Week 1, a team with a similar makeup of a potent offense and questionable defense. And then the Argos ran into a very tough assignment for Week 2 when they had to go on the road against dangerous British Columbia, who was coming off a loss and had a sense of urgency for that game despite the fact that it was just Week 2. Toronto's offense sputtered in that game, as it did in the early parts of last season as well, and the defense was again uninspiring. But they maybe should get a bit of a pass in that game, as it was just a very bad spot for them scheduling-wise. BC was projected to be the best team in the CFL this year, and again, they were coming off a disappointing loss, and BC is also a team with a very strong defensive identity in general that can hold top offensives down when they're playing well. So a better effort from Toronto should be expected against Saskatchewan, at least on offense. And the key issue is, how will the defense hold up against Saskatchewan's multifaceted and efficient offense? There are some good sides for Toronto. Top defensive lineman Khalif Mitchell committed to being well-behaved before the season, and his attitude has been much improved so far. And it has been slow starts that have plagued Toronto's defense as well. They've had bad first halves to start both of their first 2 games, but then they did make adjustments at halftime in both games and played much better second halves. So if they can put it together for a full game, they may soon prove to be a serviceable defensive unit. So my pick on this game is going to be on Toronto at pick'em, despite how well Saskatchewan has played so far. Games of CFL can a lot of times be about scheduling spots, and this should be one that favors Toronto, coming off a loss, again, where they faced a tough opponent and maybe had a bit of an excuse, while Saskatchewan has already made their mark in the early going. I think we'll see a rebound from the Argos on offense, and probably a more consistent game on defense as well. So at home, with the line just pick 'em, I'll take Toronto over the Roughriders.